And we're live.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we just put out if you haven't watched it already, go watch it. It's the don't for,
Propaganda video
yeah, don't
called Never Forget What They've Done. And it highlights the insanity of the last year of lockdown politics and all the associated craziness that went with came from the Kenney government in Alberta this year.
yeah.
Generally makes the whole thing look utterly insane.
Yeah, I wanted to put it out um after Stampede. But it's kind of blunted because they turned around and just got rid of everything.
Yeah, and we have to talk about this because this isn't just a big deal for Alberta, but this is a big deal for the whole country, and basically any other jurisdiction that's watching. Because out of nowhere, kind of unexpectedly, the government announces that it's getting rid of its last few regulations. Not only does that include the stupid mask requirement on like a bus, for example, or in a taxi or some of these little things, but it includes the frankly dumb quarantine requirement where if you're around someone with a positive test, or if you've got some symptoms or you get a positive test such and such, you quarantine for these 14 days, which of course is incredible. Like, if you actually were to follow this, which I don't know how many people actually stuck to it, if they were in that situation, but anyone who actually follows it, of course it's extremely disruptive to their lives, potentially. Creates just havoc in some business environments. Like, our assistant at the office, she was saying basically somebody sneezes at the school and it just sets off the chain reaction where all these people have to go get tests, all these people have to isolate, all these. It's just insane. It's
Yeah.
no way to live for mature people dealing with a virus, again, that's not dangerous to most people.
My buddy's got 3 kids in the past in the past 2 quarters he's gotten 8 tests.
Yeah, it's
8.
insane. It's ridiculous. It's torture for children, and not to mention adults and workplaces and just general living. But the thing is, that's gone now. And I thought, when everyone's talking about removing all restrictions and stuff, as far as I can tell, no one has really gotten rid of that. And I tried to look into it, and other than maybe some places on the far side of the world that a lot of people don't know what they are or anything, so some people might say they don't matter that much, but kind of as far as our more Western focus, it could be that we're the first jurisdiction to do away with that requirement altogether. And Dina Hinshaw, who I've said horrible things about for over a year.
Yeah.
She's not a great communicator, but they've got her basically out there on her own defending this. And most of her arguments are basically okay, that it's disruptive, it's creating chaos in people's lives. It's not the number one priority, to the exclusion of everything else in life when it comes to risks and dangers and problems that we face. And of course, the lockdowns and all these rules have negative consequences. So she kind of came at it with a very economic argument that, there are huge costs to what we are doing, including the last issue standing, which was the quarantine requirement. So supposedly that's gone. Now everyone's freaking out. The lockdown fanatics are freaking out. The rest of the country's freaking out. The federal minister of health, who's basically a complete moron, said, well, you better turn over your justification for this, or you better prove that this is right.
In a public letter.
Yeah, so everyone's
these
now, Dina Hinshaw, remember, was like the saint
Too
of the lockdown fanatics for
too
over
crucial,
a year.
Too crucial to know for a phone call.
Yeah. But so Hinshaw, I mean, as you know, nobody likes Kenney, but Hinshaw has been regarded relatively better, at least by the lockdown fanatics, because she was the one who would get up and with her, kind of Valium laced, droning style.
She
Say
reminded
we
me
need
of
to have these lockdowns.
the the kind sitcom Mother. Do you know what I mean?
I think she's more like that lady on like season 3 or 4 of Law and Order who kills her kids to get attention.
Fucking Munchausen.
But so she's out there defending this. Most of her arguments are fine, basically. Like she's not making really any rights-based argument, a moral-based argument. It's basically just there's limited resources and this isn't the only problem in the world, basically, which is completely reasonable because it's not, in terms of danger level, anywhere close to our top priority in life. So she's getting rid of it. Now everyone's watching us. We've got the pro-lockdown fanatics saying they want that restriction brought back. Otherwise, they're just terrified.
Seething.
We've got, they're seething. We've got the rest of the country looking at us saying like, oh, that's crazy. So people are going to be watching Alberta, wanting it to fail. And this cutting edge change, like you said, it kind of forces us crazy anti-lockdown types to root for Dina Hinshaw.
Yeah.
And root for, God, I can't believe I'm saying it, freaking Jason Kenney insofar as he sticks to this. Yeah. Because, again, the lockdown issue is the biggest issue of our time. It is the most insane, over-the-top attack on our liberties that we faced in our lives easily. And I think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you have an opinion here, but we need to be willing to work with anyone we have to, no matter how distasteful, to keep lockdowns from coming back without the bullshit promises that they're saying in other parts of the world, where it's like, oh, if you only get your 9th booster shot, then maybe we can open up. Or, oh, we just need a vaccine passport, then it will be safe to open up. However, we need to cut off people.
It's not it's not a bad idea because his political identity and thus fortunes are tied to keeping the course.
Yes.
His identity, his future, his run at prime minister, it's up in smoke. It's done. But will he somehow keep the UCP together in Alberta and not go down as probably the second greatest conservative failure in Albertan history? He has to stay the course, or else that's what happens. So I would agree. You have to kind of you have to back him, because if he deviates, he's fucked.
Yeah, and I mean, you might say, the grassroots movement we've been a part of, basically just dunking on Kenney and the UCP MLAs with a lot of pressure to get these lockdowns kicked. I mean, they've done it now. So for all the bad things that the government has done, and I mean, people are like, they need to apologize, blah, blah, blah. It's like, they're not going to apologize. These are politicians. They need to save face somehow. Whatever needs to happen later on, they can come out and
wait a second,
reevaluate things. But right now,
wait a second,
whatever excuse they need.
Canadian politician excuses, like apologies, are always on the table.
No, because not in this case. Not in this case, because you're not apologizing for something people.
Oh, someone else did.
Okay, so say they come out and apologize for arresting pastors and shutting down churches and like fencing up Grace Life Church.
Yeah.
For example. yeah, maybe they should, but I don't know if it helps necessarily. I think maybe to some degree, and I'm just thinking purely cynical politics, maybe they need to keep up the pretense that, oh, we did what we had to and it had to be done. Maybe right this instant is not the time to start coming out and being like, oh, we shouldn't have done it, even though it's true. Like, oh, we shouldn't have trampled all over people's rights for the sake of this virus. Yeah, it's true. They shouldn't have, but I don't know if it's helpful for them to come out and say that now, even though they are implicitly acknowledging it through their proxy Dina Hinshaw on her propaganda tour,
Yeah.
which I fully support, by the way. I just wish she was a better communicator. But she's basically saying, yeah, the costs are too great. And it's not an apology, but it's an acknowledgement that the consequences can't be allowed to continue, or the policy can't be allowed to continue because the consequences are too severe. So there is an implicit acknowledgement of all of that. But again, insofar as these are the people who just happen to be pushing like the strongest anti-lockdown position, arguably in North America at least, I think that's excellent. And we need to kind of root for them, if not, I don't want to support them, but we're kind of rooting for this to work. And they've prepped us. They said, oh, cases are going to spike again probably in September.
Yeah.
And, cases are going to go up, but we can deal with it. Whatever they want to say. I don't know what sells the most with the people they have to make this pitch to. Like, I'm sold. I was sold a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was sold in March before they locked down at all.
No, you got to find some bodies before they'll apologize. So, no.
Well, the NDP is asking for like a full scale review. It's like, whatever. They had an independent review done by KPMG, and it's probably just like, it's like oh yeah, some criticisms, but overall did a good job.
Yeah. Here's what we would recommend. No.
But later on, they can come back and hit hard that lockdowns are bad, but now's not the time. Now, I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but for Kenney's fortunes, they can't lock down again or he's doomed.
Yeah.
He wants to win, I assume.
Yeah.
He hasn't written off his political future entirely. He's too surrounded by yes men, and he's too full of himself. He thinks he can keep it going.
Yeah.
He just needs to outsmart everyone and make them not hate him as much.
This is a big move.
If he does that, if he caves on this, he's absolutely toast.
Yeah.
So they can't. So again, it just so happens that our interests happen to kind of align with Jason Kenney's short-term political interests.
Yeah. Normally, I think it's a horrible idea to support him or anything in that regards. But again, he's locked in. I don't know how he pulls himself out of this without looking like exactly what NDPers think he is, and losing everybody that he's already kind of brought back to the table.
Yeah, I can.
So you have to. Yeah, you have to.
No, it's like the people of the right that he's angered are absolutely pissed and will never forgive him. It's just a question of, I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. People will hold their nose and vote for the stinkiest candidate they have to get rid of someone else, or to protect, to give themselves an idea that they're protecting themselves from someone else.
I think it's
going to be tough.
They have to punish. Albertans punish, much like Newfies punish, but so there's two things that makes me think about. One is so there was a moment shortly after the stampede, he was in a scrum. There was a bunch of media sitting around. They're like, oh my God, the vaccine, blah, blah, blah. Mask by law. I think this was before his announcement. And he said, look, you guys need to knock it off. You got to stop. the problem. Like, it seems like the
Like,
moment.
stop the fear mongering.
Yeah,
Basically,
he
I
said,
remember that.
this is all your fault. You're fear mongering fucking degenerates. And there was a moment, it seemed like the second it hit that 70% in terms of vaccination, he was like, I'm off this fucking ride. I'm done here. I've scared the bejesus out of people. I've spent all the goodwill and political capital I had fucking carrying water. And I'm done.
Yeah, and it didn't work out for him. And I think, like, he's weird. He's trying to do like this peppy style now and really upbeat and like uplifting and like the best days are ahead and stuff. And it doesn't go like, I don't know what his best style is, but it doesn't really look good on him. But his sense of like who he is has changed a lot in the last few years, or not the last few months, and it comes across as phony and like kind of
forced,
lame and forced, but
whatever.
I think you're right. I mean, when he basically told the media at that press conference, like,
that was the
you're
moment.
just spreading fear, and I think that's an interesting way to interpret it, that he's done with it. He has lost too much support to keep going down that direction. By listening to Rachel Notley in the media, he's severely jeopardized his potential, and probably what he'll have to do, because this alone won't be enough. This is the minimum requirement, but it won't get him there. I don't know how he does it exactly, but I assume that somehow in the next 2 years, he either needs like an absolutely smoking economy that people are too afraid to lose, and I just don't know if it's going to happen, but he would need to throw the base like maybe 2 huge juicy things, and he not promise them in a campaign, but he'd have to do them before he gets out. And I think that's the only way that basically he gets enough people, because he's not going to get NDP voters to switch over. He needs the people who basically voted for him originally to enough of them to show up again.
He's got to, he's got to pull out that old Albertan, the old Alberta standby. So he's got a bunch of shit getting thrown at him by nurses and doctors. So he's got to come out and he say, all right, nurses, doctors, you've ate shit for the past 2 years. Here's your money. Here's your staffing. Here's your support. Here's everything you fucking wanted. We're taking it all from the teachers. And everyone will go, everyone will go, well, like, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Fuck those teachers. They would say, I suspect. They're like, you haven't been doing shit in the past year. My kid came home at least 6 months of the fucking year.
That's hilarious.
I'd rather there be 6 teachers tele-teaching my fucking kids. I've been raising them and teaching them myself. They just sit in their fucking rooms and try not to kill themselves.
Yeah, we're gonna give the taxpayers a discount.
Yeah. So here you go. We're cutting everybody a break on education, and we're giving it straight to the nurses.
That would be absolutely hilarious. I don't think he would do it, but that is hilarious. And personally, I would like it.
Yeah.
Not like better to have a tax cut, but to play to the 2 biggest like
just
forces
against each other,
government employees off each other. I would just sit back and watch with great delight. I think that's hilarious.
Over the past year and a half, one of you has helped us, one of you has not. So don't forget that last lockdown, the one before the second to last one
in April,
where they sent all the kids home, they shut down the schools. That was not a health decision. They made it very clear that was a education board decision.
Well, I remember.
Granted, they were having to comply with health restrictions. So the second somebody's kid looks, in the general direction of someone who may have coughed in the past day or two, all the teachers have to go home for 10 fucking days. Even if you test negative, you still got to quarantine. So they were like, look, we got too many teachers out. We're fucked. Can you send all the kids home during the lockdown? And that's what they did. So That's what I would do if I was Kenney.
So yeah, I mean it's going to be tough for him to win, but so now also there's the hilarious pro-lockdown protests, which are basically government employees who are upset that their free vacations every time someone coughs at the office are going to be over because the quarantine requirement's gone. They're out protesting every day.
Yeah, there was a bunch.
They had the funny article. I think you sent it to me. It was on True North or whatever.
Yeah, what's this guy's
the
fucking
shill
name?
doctor
Oh, yeah,
who's
let me get his
big
name.
NDP supporter.
$20,000 fucking NDP supporter.
That's just high. That's just. I mean, we don't even need to single this guy out, especially. But
yes,
this
we
guy's
do.
on TV.
We do.
But
Fuck
hang
this
on,
guy.
this guy's
This
on
guy
TV.
showed up to
no,
a
but hang on. Don't interrupt me. This guy is on. He goes on CBC as some disinterested, just expert. And of course, he's not disinterested. He's at these political rallies. He gives tens of thousands of dollars to the NDP.
$20,000.
He's a shill doctor. He's a doctor. Sure, maybe he's a great doctor, but he's a shill and he's politically interested. He's not an objective, expert, as if that would ever exist in the first place. But this is not just this guy. This is a lot of these doctors, but very few of them have been looked into. The kinds that they get on TV, on the mainstream news to talk about as the experts, there's tons of them. The ones that even Doug Ford has on his advisory board or whatever it's called, the virus advisory committee or emergency advisory committee, it's full of all kinds of people with a political axe to grind. And the reason I say I don't want to single him out necessarily for the sake of the general issue, this is everywhere. All these guys on TV, they have a political interest. A lot of them have a motivation very strongly to hurt, their political enemies. And of course, they put on their lab coats and their
goes to a climate change meeting with a stethoscope on.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Sits in his living room with his fucking scrubs on.
Political theater.
Oh God, I just got done, fucking massaging someone's heart back to life. I have 10 minutes for an interview to talk about lockdowns.
It's stupid. Yeah, all these fakes, fake doctors everywhere.
Oh, he's a real doctor. You got to make you got to make Albertan doctor money to give 20
these doctors. So kind of moving off from that pro-lockdown protest thing, which is absurd. They're all government employees. They basically love the quarantine requirement. People go out there, they say, we need to keep our kids safe. Kids have died because of the virus. No, literally 0 children, 0 people in the entire province have died of the virus ever. And they're like, they can have long-lasting symptoms. It's like the evidence on that is extremely weak. That's why that issue died. That's why that scary propaganda tactic that they were trying to push on us when lockdown resistance was growing originally. Long COVID or long-lasting COVID that permanently disables you was a big point, and the evidence was so weak they dropped it. Now they're digging it up again along with their argument that children have died, which is just false. No person under the age of 20 has died in Alberta. They're basically immune to it. We know it hurts mostly, old and sick people and such.
I saw an interesting tweet the other day that somebody said, it's been 19 months since this started. Do you know that the Spanish flu deaths only lasted 19 months? The worst pandemic modern medicine, modern history has ever known. Like, we don't know how many people, we estimate how many people died from bubonic plague and stuff like that. We know down to the fucking number how many people died of Spanish flu, apparently. Modern bookkeeping. It only lasted 18 months. Next year's flu strain came through. It's not the 1918 Spanish flu.
Well, they're going to make this last as long as they can. Of course, there is, unless it's politically disastrous for you to maintain lockdowns. For some people it is. But unfortunately for all too many people, they just are cheering for lockdowns or for the only way to be out of lockdowns, this new digital tyranny where you get the barcode on your skull or whatever. there is a lot of people who do not want to let this go, and I think that's part of the whole Trudeau motivation to get
Snap
an
election.
election going here pretty soon, which really looks like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
The way he's throwing money around.
He's campaigning without campaigning. He apparently had a private meeting with the press corps yesterday.
Oh yeah,
private meeting.
Oh yeah, we know what's going on.
Yeah,
but the and that's why the CBC made sure everyone knows they are running.
Guys,
they want to get it in there.
Guys, you know that
time for the
that
campaign.
$1.2 billion you gave us last fiscal year wasn't enough. Keep it coming. We need more of your fucking money to produce such quality content. But it takes a lot of money, folks.
Okay, but I mean, you can tell the response of Erin O'Toole, our fuddy-duddy leader of the Conservative Party. He's like, well, we shouldn't have an election. So Trudeau's just rolling in like he's gonna well, I'm gonna win. Anyone who's not a totally useless piece of trash should want an election because they should want to destroy Trudeau for what he's doing right now. Him and his coalition government with the NDP and the Bloc are doing severe damage right now. And I'm not saying the Conservatives would necessarily be doing better, but if they were worth a damn, they'd want to take him down, and they should be able to tear him apart. He's got scandal after scandal. He's spending money like crazy. He's basically, even for kind of a moderate person, it has to make you wonder.
The best they can do against O'Toole is tie him to Jason Kenney. 2 peas in a pod, buddy. Remember that fucking set of ads? You must have come across them. It's 2 fucking cows cackling at one another about how bad these old white men are, and they're just all the same. Mm-hmm. And they're gonna cut all of our federal jobs. They're gonna take all our union money.
So lame. It's the same old thing.
The Conservatives get in power and they hate teachers and nurses, and they're gonna take all your shit. How about you undo the Phoenix space system? I guess they gave a final tally of that. It was what, $10 billion or $5 billion?
I think it's at least 2 or 1.2. It's a lot.
It's an astronomical number, larger than $1 billion.
My favorite part of that scandal was government employees not getting paid.
Where's my money?
But so anyway, yeah, I don't think Trudeau wants to let go of this. Although, I mean, if he gets a majority, it doesn't seem like it would be hugely different from what he's got going now. He's got no opposition whatsoever to basically anything he's trying to do. The only difference, I guess, they can, there's other people have control over some committees that are digging into his stuff and whatever. But
there's some some ombudsman, some fucking bureaucratic fucking squint went through and audited the some government spending and basically saw the We Charity for about I think 140,000 over 3 or 4 different contracts where the price of the bid came in after, and they modified the change without justifying the change difference. They're just like, this is gross. You guys know this isn't how this is
we don't
done.
have to put out this thing for competitive bids because it just happens to be perfectly below the number. And it's all going to our pals over at We Charity, or the thing. Wasn't there some digital advertising firm, and it was like Trudeau's buddy, and they were funneling like all the. Anyway, there's tons of that. It's all basically small potatoes, but it just exemplifies
it's something,
the rot within. And I guess that's the only thing they can do because Trudeau is basically, the Liberal government in Ottawa is basically running things like it has a majority right now.
Yeah.
It is no opposition whatsoever. And unfortunately, it's because most people love the lockdown stuff, and the Conservatives, who are the only conceivable people who should be.
Erin O'Toole loves lockdowns.
He loves lockdowns. He says we can't have an election because we have to fight the 4th wave.
Not a single person on his staff has come out and said, look, appear strong where you're weak. Appear weak where you're strong. So no one's gonna vote for you, so you should fucking just gun it for an election.
Exactly. But and that's kind of the interesting question about O'Toole, I find. Like it's one of those things like, is he the planned fall guy, or is he just like an idiot who
I love your term
got
for him,
there?
the designated loser.
He's the designated loser, the Jeb Bush. He's up there to lose, and I wonder, is it like, because the Conservatives have nothing to bring to the table. They don't have like a rock star guy like Trudeau.
They do. He's just not running. And the other rock star started his own party.
Yeah, well, yeah. So you get all these guys splitting the BoomerCon vote.
That was my second point. So I had a friend go to like a fucking Stampede breakfast, and he was there with some political people, some media people. And he told me they were talking about political parties in Alberta and stuff like that, and some fucking raging boomer overheard it, and he was just like, "You can't split the vote. Don't split the vote. We got to stop the NDP. We got to stop the Liberals. Don't split the vote." And I think that is the worst attitude to have.
Well, the Conservative Party like is just trash. So they if they're ever gonna fix themselves up, they need to lose really badly in some election or some kind, so they can kind of re-examine themselves, I suppose. I don't know.
I think these alternate parties are addressing some of the problems that they have. Michelle Rempel, I tried to go to her virtual fucking meeting, her virtual meeting, and I signed up for it, and I never got sent the code. I sent my question in advance, Michelle Rempel. You never answered it. So I'm going to assume that you think Erin O'Toole's carbon tax and carbon taxation platform is good for the average Albertan, specifically the average Calgarian. You think that that's what's best for the country, and you're supporting it. It's very refreshing that instead of focusing on that, you've decided to launch an investigation on amyl nitrate poppers. That's what she did today.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because it's got to be safe.
Well, really going after the big issues.
You know, because it's a real issue. It's a real issue, real problem, real health hazard. It's funny because even in CBC, they're like, it's like a gay men love using poppers. Gay men love amyl nitrate poppers.
Well, it's like Dina Hinshaw the other day when she's like, we need to allocate our resources towards other health issues. For example, congenital syphilis. And it's like, that's a weird thing to bring up. That's like 5 people per year. But anyway, people get, that's what it's about. Like they get these,
it's communicable.
They go after the small stuff because it's easy and harmless.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, just put a notch on the belt, but like, thank God you're, you established.
It's like Aaron, speaking of small petty stuff, did you see Erin O'Toole he did some stump speech or whatever in Fredericton? He's like, I'm gonna provide money for a pool. A community swimming pool
in Fredericton.
And
really,
Trudeau's going around like dishing out like tens of billions of dollars on like these huge things.
There's 3 world-class universities in Fredericton,
and Erin O'Toole's like, I'm gonna give you some money for a pool. It's pretty lame. Like, no big ideas. So the question I was going to get into, and I want to get your thought on it. So first of all, I mean, there's the designated loser thing. Is he like a fall guy in some sense? Like, is he out there just to buy time for someone else? Is Stephen Harper going to make his return that some people believe?
Yeah.
Are they trying to get something else lined up because they know they don't have something that can beat the, Central Canadian rock star Trudeau politician?
No, so
hang on. Okay. And then based on your answer to that question, if he does actually want to win, if you go that direction, and you're in his situation now, kind of same thing with Kenney. Like, what would you do to actually win? Like you got to aim for the bleachers. You got nothing. Like you're lame as hell and nobody likes you. What would you do to at least make some fireworks as you're going down?
Like,
So back to the first question.
Like
Is he a fall guy or
okay, so Harper, the ghost of Harper doesn't exist. It's a fairy tale. He will never get on the campaign trail because he can't take his wife with him. Okay? First of all, he can't take his wife with him. She won't be seen with him in public, from what I understand. Maybe. Theoretic, like, I'm assuming
it's not a problem for Trudeau?
Yeah, well, she's just upset that she can't fucking get him and Gomeshi to kiss some more. You're like, honey, who we should bring on tour? Like, while we're campaigning? Like, what? Do you think Gomeshi's done? Like, do you think he's ready has he atoned enough? Is he ready for public consumption again? Because that last time where you guys fucking made out.
Trudeau will get him set up.
That was hot. That was hot.
So so I don't personally buy the Harper thing either, but I know some people. I know a lot of people who think like that's what's gonna happen,
or
morons. That's the plan.
They're idiots,
and I don't buy it either. So
what's their core argument that that's gonna happen? On the fact that he gave an interview.
It's complicated. Just these people are more like politically involved with that scene.
Oh, okay, so they're boomer cons.
Well, boomer cons or critics of critics of boomer cons because they were like formerly involved with that kind of campaigning and stuff, like old Canadian Alliance guys who like know that network and stuff.
Harper signed on with some consultant company. I think it's owned by 1X. Dude, he's making mad fucking bank. So
yeah, but you don't become prime minister because you want to make money.
He's at his full of power. I mean, maybe he just wants to be loved. He's still probably got that hole in him.
Maybe he just wants somebody to say like, "Wow,
come back and
please
come save us."
And I hope people don't.
I'll look down and whisper no. But he wants to have his own Rorschach.
A lot of the boomer cons talk that way. Yeah. And honestly, compared to Trudeau, Stephen Harper is starting to look like a Boy Scout almost. As bad as Harper was, Trudeau is really, really bad. Much worse than I expected. And like they're going hard on some of their crazy ideas that they just throw out there that are really unrealistic and damaging. But let's say there is no plan for Harper to come back. So it's just Toole's what they've got right now. Is he some kind of fall guy, or are they genuinely going to try to win?
Okay, it's sort of like how in like
so do you think he's Jeb?
Yeah, I think he's Jeb. It's like in a sports team where you give up your 3rd round draft pick this year so that you can just kind of fucking sit on some. Maybe next year you get 1st round. You place really shitty.
Okay, so do you think Mr. O'Toole accepts that role delightfully?
There's no slaughter rule in politics.
Is that why he's saying we shouldn't have an election right now? Because he wants to hang on for a few more. He likes being the leader.
He likes being on the bus. No, but like he doesn't have the swagger of a man that enjoys power. There's no bravado to him. There's no.
He's lame. He's military, and like if you compare him, whatever you think about the whole military scene, whatever, there's a certain presence that a lot of former military politicians have.
He don't got it.
He don't got it exactly. Like, isn't Florida DeSantis? Isn't he former military, or am I wrong?
Not sure.
He's like, again, whatever you think of him, he's got a presence, like in the sense that Trudeau also has a presence.
Trey Gowdy.
Trudeau's presence is very different, but again, political leaders usually have it in some form or another. Mr. Erin O'Toole, like, I mean, there might be something there that we don't recognize because we're just haters.
The question,
but he's got nothing. He seems so lame. It's unbelievable. And that this isn't a one-off. This isn't an accident. Andrew Scheer was the last guy.
Well, we all know why Scheer was in the position that he was in. Because he supported cartels. So the question is, what does Erin O'Toole support other than Israel?
Maybe it's just more cartels.
Maybe. He's like, look,
maybe the cartel candidate just wins every time.
could be the
Because it is rigged, even in the leadership race. I don't know if you know this, but they weight the votes from different places more. So a vote in the conservative leadership race from Quebec membership is worth more than Alberta votes. It's very bizarre.
Based on a proportion of what? What's the weighting mechanism?
You'd have to look it up how it works.
I wasn't aware of that.
I'm not wrong. This is something I learned in the whole O'Toole victory thing. I don't even remember who his opponents were.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, it was McKay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay, right.
Yeah, McKay.
They're all so boring. No one even remembers who they were. But okay, so anyway, yeah, it's very weird. It's very tilted away from what we think of as the conservative heartland, right? In terms of the selection process. So structurally, even if they didn't come in with the shenanigans of the Bernier versus Scheer vote back in the day, they still have an influence, like a greater influence that manifests as deeply as the way the votes are counted.
Okay, so they probably have like each Quebecois counts for 1.25 or something like that.
Yeah, it's weird. You have to look it up. I just don't remember the details well enough to get into it. But
I think it probably boils down along those lines. Just basically anybody, unless, I mean, from a party perspective, you're just like, look, if you can't win Quebec, you can't win Canada. The end.
Well, yeah, pretty much. And it's like, maybe we should, judge a place that is less likely to vote conservative differently. Like it's pretty weird. I don't necessarily like it, but the whole party's obviously stupid.
The Canadian version of the primaries. You got to get out there and win Idaho. Quebec is our Idaho.
Well, so they've got this Erin O'Toole guy.
Yeah.
Following up on Andrew Scheer.
Yeah.
Hard to believe they could get a less likable person, a bigger fuddy-duddy.
I think
like toe. Was it you who described him as a toe?
A toe, yeah.
Like he's like a toe man.
Yeah.
And just horrible.
I think he shook the right hands. That's how he got in power. That's why you had the immediate betrayal of Sloan. Sloan's now starting a party that no one cares about. Granted, he is giving voice to the religious right in Canada, and that's wonderful. Good for you, but you don't got it neither.
I can't stand when people just fire up these federal parties and they've got like nothing. If you can't get something somewhere, right? Like, can you get someone on a city council? Can you get someone on in a provincial legislature? Like
our best maverick.
Or can you do what the Green Party did? You know how they got Elizabeth May in there? They just basically piled all their resources into the one district that could get them a seat.
And Bernier lost his,
which is fucking brutal from the standpoint of a party that,
just started,
pretty much was all about the leaders being kicked out of the party he was in.
Yeah, it's fucking rough.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
But he's still out and kicking. He's still running around, getting arrested, not giving a fuck.
Yeah, it's pretty amusing in some ways.
Hats off. I mean,
So we got O'Toole.
Yep.
He probably knows he can't win. And maybe that's why he wants to buy some time. Not that I think it just gets worse for him the longer he exists. Because
I think he sees it pragmatically. He sees that the Conservatives will remain the opposition in name only, because NDP and the Bloc hold the balance there, really. Because they're, as Poilievre said, they're all the same party. I think he just wants to ride it out. I think he, if we're gonna put it in military terms, he just wants his fucking commission, and he's just gonna ride it out, get that fucking pension. Just ride it out. Don't make waves. Be electable, but don't win. I want you. He's running a race to place, to show. Okay, he just wants to show. He doesn't want to win. Okay, that's his play. So he's not saying he'll come out. Yeah, here's my idea for like the reason why he can say, here's my carbon tax plan, because it'll never fucking get done.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the reasons why I thought like he was set up to fail. Like now apparently according to their research, this idea can sell in Ontario. Good luck. No one likes it. You might as well just vote for Trudeau.
It might sell because the banks make a boatload of money. They take their fucking pick of the litter.
Yeah, that'll get like
you open how many
executives to max out their contributions.
You open how many quote unquote saving accounts?
Oh no, it's total like sweet deal for the cronies, because it literally siphoned. I can get my stupid carbon tax rebate, which is the whole thing is dumb, but I can get my carbon tax rebate and go buy video games or computers or books or stereos. This way I can basically decide what to spend my reduced money with once I get it. It's like, no, you have to spend it on these special things that we've decided that have been determined by our industry partners.
These credits.
Like, how convenient. How do I get on that list? How do I get to be on the list that some people are only allowed to spend billions of dollars on, like us few companies?
Yeah, you're looking.
But that's one of
you're
the
thinking
reasons,
about running again, Aaron. How do I? Oh, you want some money?
Anyway, that idea was so dumb, it made me think that it was part of the intentional destruction of O'Toole, because the plan, whatever arguments they can make, unless I'm missing something, the plan is clearly more retarded than even the current Liberal plan.
Look, if we can smell the grift, smart people can smell that grift too. It's a signal. So he's not doing it to win. And he's sending out the right signals. He says, look, I will turn this place upside down for money.
Yeah, but if he doesn't win, it doesn't matter.
No. But he's just like, look, Trudeau's going to have a heart attack, or his wife's going to stab him in his sleep at some point. Or you know what? The next election, I'm going to bring up blackface. Okay, guys. So, but like now I'm just going to get all these shitty ideas out there so that you can understand that I'm willing to fucking play ball.
It's just too bizarre. What was the he's got his swimming pool thing.
I'm gonna build a swimming pool.
I just don't get it. Like, this is Canadian politics. It's unlikely that we have a non-Canadian listener, but Canadian political leaders are the lamest people on the entire planet, and Trudeau is very well known because he's so unusual. That's why so much attention is on him relative to all the previous ones we've had. And I don't know, just the opposition now for the very destructive current government in Ottawa is incredibly weak and hilariously lame. Like, lame is the ultimate word.
So he's the designated loser. He's not running to win. He's running to show. And he's signaling the whole time how insane he's willing to go if he ever fucking gets the call. Hopefully, and most of the I suspect probably most of the party people are like, you're not going to fucking win, but you're not going to rock the boat neither. You're not going to lose any fucking ground to another conservative party. So you're not going to lose us ground, really. You're going to lose us some ground, but you got to come out and you can't say anything strongly one way or another. All your ideas are dumb, but those boomer comms will vote for you because we can't split the vote.
Okay, but that goes back to the thing I was saying before. Like, they think so if maybe he can hold steady because he's lame, he's not gonna lose hard, he's not gonna win hard,
yeah,
he's not gonna win barely. He's just like, if he's just there to basically hold the line,
yeah.
Then even then it's kind of like, what is the argument for his argument? Like, his big ad campaign right now is like, we shouldn't have an election because the fourth wave is coming. That is the worst stupidest possible thing a so-called conservative leader could say when you've got Justin Trudeau as your enemy. And keep in mind, of course, that's the conservative leader. So we have observed, of course, in the last year plus, there is a major divide when it comes to left and right and the whole virus situation. That is very important.
Not really.
And no, it's considerable. It's like borne out constantly.
So that would mean there's probably only like remember that that poll? Who put out the poll? Nanos? Yeah, Nanos. The Nanos poll.
I don't know. It's just it's baffling to me. Again, it all comes down, I suppose, to the question like is he this stupid, or is he intentionally trying to go down?
We ask ourselves that every week, and it just we used to ask it about Kenney, and now we've decided that he's not stupid. We asked it about Scheer, and we were like, yeah, he is stupid. Now we're asking about O'Toole, and we're like, well, is he stupid? And the answer I'm gonna have to say is yes.
It's just amazing. Like,
he wants to.
Are we stupid, or we just think we're smarter than everyone? Are these like the greatest political minds in Canada, just like playing?
No, I think we're out of touch with just like them. We're out of touch with the common people.
We're out of touch with them.
Yeah,
like,
we are.
Yeah, they think very differently. They don't seem to care about anything anyone actually cares about. Our pal Pierre,
yeah,
is basically the only guy who talks about any kind of interesting thing, as far as I can tell.
He's also the only guy that'll go out,
and he's a little fiery, and he's
got it.
He's like, I don't really like him that much, to be honest.
I love him,
but he's I don't know. He's got some pizzazz to him or something. He throws some real zingers.
He's alive.
Or he's a bomb chucker.
He's alive, dude.
Yeah. Okay, that's actually a good word for it. But what was I going to say?
That's the only standout they got.
Yeah, it is.
If you ask the average Canadian who Pierre Poilievre is, they know who he is. I'm telling you.
Well, he's the most he's like the most followed conservative politician.
Yeah. So he has it. He
either
gets it, or his team
brought him
gets
up
it.
is he brings things up that are kind of like big issues that go after some things that supposedly the right in Canada, such as it is, cares about.
Yeah.
So he goes after the spending, the economic stuff, like he goes after good issues, basically. Yeah. You don't hear anything like that from anyone else, or so it seems. Am I not paying attention?
No.
Or is he the only guy they've got out there, like, as the bulldog?
Maybe he's the only guy that's reaching us, but the thing is, he's been reaching us for a year and a half. Do you know what I mean?
And he's reaching us because he's the only one doing it, as far as I can tell.
I think so. Rempel used to be a beast.
Yeah,
now I got to vote her out. She won't take my questions. I can't watch her meetings. They never rebroadcast it. It wasn't fucking public. And she won't have it outdoors. And sorry, you got to go, because I don't think you have a good justification for what you're trying to support, and I don't think Erin O'Toole's got it. So, like, you might, like Dina Hinshaw, you might be a great soldier, but you picked the wrong leader. Like, I just can't do it. So I gotta go. I gotta start doing some research. I gotta look into whoever from the Maverick Party is going to run. I gotta look into whoever from the Wild Rose Independence Party is going to run.
Well,
I would do some research. It's not like anybody's going to run a libertarian candidate in my riding. There might be a PPC, but I know whoever runs as a libertarian candidate is going to be a fucking loser.
Yeah, well, we've talked about some of the low quality folks in the scene.
Yeah.
And a lot of them jumped ship to PPC, because early on when PPC came on the scene, it was a lot more liberal, or I guess classical libertarian in orientation, because it was based on a lot of Max Bernier's original platform.
Yeah. Accountability.
It got kind of caught up in this whole, I guess, I don't know what the most generic way to describe it is, like a little bit more, I guess, right-wing populist sort of issues. And of course, because it was the only party that said like reduce or whatever immigration,
Stop mass
got a lot
immigration.
of
That's what got them in shit.
Yeah, that became basically the only issue they could talk about because
The billboard.
Yeah, pretty much. So basically, but earlier on, there was a lot more synergy. They were talking about merging at one point with the Libertarian Party, but that didn't pan out for obviously various reasons. but it sucked a lot of energy and people out of the Libertarian Party.
It's like when they want to invite those shitty fucking nations into the EU, and everyone's like, "No, don't do it." fuck the Libertarian Party of Canada. Like, what's your like? You're as bad or worse than the Libertarian Party in the U.S. Like, you guys can't even figure out who you're willing to cooperate with. Okay, so go join the PPC, have a set of be electable.
Well, libertarianism has a problem right now with the infusion of, I guess, the cult of woke. Like with a lot of scenes.
Oh, Libertarian Plus? Is there Libertarian
yeah,
Plus like Atheism Plus?
Yeah, basically. Like it's dealing, like the Libertarian Party in the US is dealing with a lot of that stuff right now. It's kind of panning out with a lot of drama, and it's quite a scene to behold.
Libertarianism as a social philosophy is not incompatible with these things. You can choose to do these things or live however you want. Just stay off my lawn. It's okay. If you wanna behave in a certain manner and think a certain way and tell other people that's how they should also live their lives, it's got nothing to do with me.
Well,
but
at its core, the cult of social justice and wokeism, or whatever you want to call it, that post-Marxist leftist philosophy that we're up against, or ideology, it is incompatible with libertarianism. So no, it doesn't gel. Not to mention those people are like mentally ill. They're crazy. They're not like normal left-wing people. They're not like normal left liberals. They're like, they're worse than jihadis. They destroy everything, and that's literally what they want to do. They are
am I taking the classical libertarian view of it's not my fucking problem? Am I doing it?
I don't know.
I'm doing it. It's not my problem.
But it is your problem. It's everybody's problem.
Well, if it can be...
Unless you're an accelerationist.
The Clown World Party? Let's go.
Yeah, unless you're striving for maximum clown world.
Well, okay. So no, they're critical.
Here's the basic problem.
Have you done your praxis for today? You have to put this into action, bro. At least they have a creed. They're critical theorists, and it'll eat itself. The question is, how many of us are going to die until that happens?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yes, you do have to keep them out of power.
And libertarianism, or really any kind of rationalist epistemology or ethic, requires certain presuppositions about knowledge.
Reduce the problem by one.
Like, these people basically are attacking reason itself.
Okay, so I think this we talked about.
So yeah, they're terrible, and they're getting into the whole Libertarian Party stuff, and it's it's obviously
my quote is too good to waste. So Stephen Harper, in his interview on first trying to lecture,
is this the Rex Murphy interview?
Yeah, Rex Murphy just juicing up Harper. He's like, "Oh my God, is so bad." Stephen Harper came out of retirement to fucking give an interview because he's a private man. He would never say anything untoward. He's a true statesman. Like, God bless you, Rex Murphy, but dude, you're carrying water right now. And he goes, oh, first he shat on Trudeau over macroeconomics. And it's just like, yeah, and you're not much better, dude. I'm sorry. You were never that much better. Granted, we didn't go through nothing was quite this bad, but it has to get this bad to have a point of reference. But he started bitching about woke culture. And the first thing I thought of is the 1996 riots in LA and the one fucking shop owner running around. Everybody's like running around, shit's on fire. And he's like, why y'all doing this? I can't believe you've done this. Like, what's wrong with y'all? And just yelling to no one in particular because his shop fucking got burnt down. Okay, so tolerating these types of ideology, these types of people in public by saying, I can't believe you've done this. You've burnt down my fucking place of business. You're destroying your own neighborhood. That's you guys just bitching about woke shit. Oh my God, they're so bad. Oh, can you believe what they believe?
Yeah, exactly.
It'll look good in 20 years. Like, fucking hats off.
You know how you know what the prime illustration of that is in our current situation?
What?
Conservatives are complaining all the time about all kinds of left-wing insanities and all kinds of derangements.
Obama had a party.
Yeah, and sure. I mean, like,
fuck these people, dude.
You can there's a place for all that kind of dumb stuff. But that's become like the big focus because they have no
culture
they've
themselves.
Lost sight of what conservatism is. They don't know what they're conserving, so they're just basically reacting to the left. They're like the anti-left. They're not conservative in any way, but the biggest way to illustrate that is for all their complaints about all these different things, they keep their kids in the public schools. And if they were really serious about anything, about like, these indoctrination factories or whatever, it basically all comes out of there. And if the conservative doesn't get the public school issue, the free and compulsory education issue, then they just don't get it. And they can't fight back against the left that they laugh at and hate and are saying is the great danger. You'll encounter these guys who use the old Breitbart quote. Politics is downstream from culture, right? You hear that all the time. People think they're like super sophisticated when they use that. But I mean, what's the next level? What's culture downstream from? I think it's education.
I think it's
and as a family, no matter what Trudeau's doing, no matter what Jason Kenney's doing, no matter what Nenshi is doing, you have a lot of control in this world still about how your children get educated if you take that responsibility upon yourself, which I think, terrifies people, or they do, as many people will admit or point out that they just want like a really expensive babysitter all day while they're at work. But that's the real thing, and that shows conservatives are not serious and they are impotent in the face of this cultural onslaught.
I made a note. It's a belief without action isn't truly belief. I guess you can use your own intuition to figure out whether these people are tolerable or not, but like sitting around bitching about it isn't going to fucking stop anything. People who are conservative in this country, or people that at least have a love of freedom, they're just not going to do shit because, like good big L libertarians, it's not their fucking problem.
But isn't in theory, isn't that the difference between the libertarian who's like, leave me out of it, I don't want to be involved? I mean, the stereotypical kind anyway.
Not my clowns, not my circus.
Whereas the conservative is like, yeah, it involves me.
Yeah.
It involves my community.
Partial birth abortions. Now, the libertarian would be like, look.
Okay, so even actually, So what do you think about this?
Okay.
So that comes up sometimes in Canadian politics.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, it's a big thing
Rare.
in the US, but it comes up here and it's used to, like, you know, smack down conservatives as, you know, bigots or woman haters or living in the Stone Age or whatever. But it's not like a huge thing here. But think about that in terms of what we're talking about. So it's a really big moral issue for a lot of people, and they're like, well, we got to do something about it, blah 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 blah, and they, you know, they get these fundraising letters like, they're gonna abort babies 2 minutes before they're born.
Yeah.
Send us in some money for the campaign, and people write the checks and
he's driving around
send
the
in
fucking
the money.
abortion
So
mobile.
it's part of it, and it's a big issue, but it's not the right place to focus, you know, from a conservative perspective, because it's like the battle's already been lost if you're talking about that. That is the consequences of a series of developments. You have to step things back and be like, what did we fail to conserve such that we're in the situation where we're talking about, you know, some of these abortion issues the way they're talked about now. But again, it's what you're talking about. These people that are like, look what you did. You burned down the neighborhood. Look what you've done. And no awareness that, you know, focusing on where the left is pushing the line next, like no grasp of where you would pull the line the other way. Like, what goal are you going towards? The right is in total disarray, total confusion, doesn't have really anything
They have
to offer.
Well, because
the
liberals won the abortion thing, the conservatives no longer think they're right about God anymore, and because they're like, well, I think they're coming for your kids. I think that's the only thing you can fucking do.
See, I don't know how you can be like.
I think
there's lots of different kinds of right wingers.
Yeah, you just got to talk about their kids. People trying to fuck their kids. People trying to vax their kids. People trying to vax and fuck their kids. People trying to make their kids think a certain way, and they're like, "Oh, that'll never happen in public school." I mean, America will have that debate for us, and then us Canadians who have no fucking autonomy or a sense of identity whatsoever will just live downstream. So, if you want to talk about downstream, how about another Breitbart? Like Canada is downstream from the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, well, they'll figure it out down there, and then eventually come up here, and we'll put our Canadian sensibilities on it because we're so much fucking better. And yeah, then it won't be an issue. And it's just like, well, go learn something about critical theory. Go look at it. Go see how it's applied to current structures, and see what it will reap. See what it will get you. And yeah, if you want to take the big L libertarian approach and say it's not your fucking problem. I don't feel strongly about anything. I'm a fucking libertarian centrist. You can all fuck off for all I care, but I'll still pay my taxes and keep my kid in public school.
Yeah, the public school thing is the biggest one. Like, whatever you are, it seems like you're not serious about it. If you're, heck, even if you're a freaking, I mean, if you're a full-blown communist even, and, you know, you think of the system as like, you know, neoliberal propaganda or whatever.
I don't like the look of that John Locke folk.
They still go with the public schools and everything, but I think they feel more, I think the left generally feels more comfortable about the public schools than the right does.
Dude, they can swag out. They don't give a shit. They just put their dick on the table and they're like,
Why?
we're teaching your kids. So in between telling your kids, we're going to talk to your kids about critical race theory first. And then we're going to talk to them about
climate change. Your dad's job is killing the planet.
By the way,
and your dad's racist, and your mom's also a bigot.
Your skin color is your sin, just so you know.
And you're killing the planet.
And
How
then,
dare you?
And then later we're gonna have a dude dressed up as a woman come read you a story.
And you're sick. You're contaminated with like the quadra variant of the sugma or the ligma variant.
Ligma variant.
You're a leper.
And the Wendy's
You
variant.
didn't get your 9th booster shot. You're a leper.
That it's very important that personal liberties be set aside in times of crisis. And if you think that if you don't think that's something they're going to teach your kids, then you're wrong.
Did I ever tell you the story about the essays we had to write in grade 10, whatever grade you study Russia in Alberta high schools?
No.
Grade 9 or 10.
Tell me.
Okay, so
grade 10.
This is all you need to know about public high schools.
I went there. I am a straight C.
So we do like this unit on Russia, and it's like like a couple months long or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not engaging. It's high school social studies. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, that's pretty interesting. But back then you're like, whatever.
Yeah.
So you're learning about Russia. You learn about like the Russian Revolution and World War II and Stalin and stuff. And then, so one of the issues, because they're kind of bringing in like, some political philosophy into it, I guess. One of the things that they spell out is that, Stalin, this guy, he, industrialized the nation, but many people died in the process. So like, you might say there was some benefits and some drawbacks. So anyway, the essay question that we get is basically that question. It's like, was it it basically spells it out just like that. Like Stalin increased the prosperity of the nation, but at great cost or whatever. So it recognizes that like, millions and millions of people die in the course of like turning the Soviet Union into like a superpower from basically nothing, like a backwards Tsarist country. So it's a question, and it's like you have to make the argument. And Mr. Robinson was the teacher, and he said, I remember asking my dad about like the essay question later on. He like went off on this rant, but Mr. Robinson told me that I was the only person in the class who said it wasn't worth it. He told me that about my essay. So that means basically 30 other kids said, yes, it was worth it for Stalin to kill millions of people so that, they could crank out widgets faster.
The Holodomor. And how do you pronounce that? The Holodomor? Domor?
Yeah.
The Holodomor was worth it. Ukrainians aren't really people.
So already somehow they've baked in the intuition. Now there might be an aspect of like maybe that was an easier argument to make. So like that's an easier way to do the test, but still, that's the whole class.
So conversely,
it's like, your GDP went up.
Conversely, was there
so it's like a video game to kids already. It's like these lives can be sacrificed so that we get these points.
But what about
it's like you're playing Civ 5.
What about the Indians? What about the natives? Was it worth all them dying? You would have to reach the same conclusion, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but that wasn't on the essay question.
But the GDP
if you
went
put
up.
That one down, then you've got another thing.
The GDP.
Now I remember Louis Riel was basically portrayed as a crazy person in the high school textbooks. And I think that was very interesting because it seemed that, yes, he might have been a crazy person.
Might have been.
And the true hero is Gabriel Dumont, as we all know. But, that's kind of interesting. Like, can they say that about Louis Riel these days?
It's out of fashion. It might come back around. You might see people running around with Louis Riel flags. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll be the Canadian Che Guevara.
It's too bad we can't have Gabriel Dumont, like the true original Western Canadian patriot.
Yeah, but
like we should bring back his flag.
Do you know what his problem was?
he was too awesome for Canada.
No, he didn't do it in Ontario, and he wasn't British enough or powerful enough or remarkable enough or mattered at all in Ontario and Quebec. His problem is he chose the wrong side of the fucking country to do it on.
But that was his people. That's where they were living.
Fuck him.
No, who are you?
They don't care. They don't care.
Well, yeah, exactly. But
because he's Westerner, it's easier to say Louis Riel because he was a fucking Quebecois.
Oh, you're talking about right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you have to pick Louis Riel if you want to talk about anti-Canadian, whatever. I think it's actually the best time to be against the Canadian state. Because no one likes Trudeau. Erin O'Toole's
a lot of people like Trudeau.
No, they don't like him. They just don't like.
Probably a good 30% of the country likes him.
Yeah,
you think?
Maybe. I think he'll win an election. Absolutely.
No, but I think people actually like. There are people who really like Trudeau, and
I can see why. He gets a lot of great press.
Like,
he gets a lot of great press.
That's politics, man. He gets great press, and he's a good con man.
He understands what politics is.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, we had that discussion.
Actor.
He's a proper politician.
Yeah, he's a good actor. Actually, he's a terrible actor, but he's it works a little differently.
He had to pretend like he didn't like it when he kissed Gomeshi.
Oh, he liked it.
No, he had to.
He didn't pretend. There was no pretending. That was like raw emotion on display.
Yeah, he's just like, no, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm just like, well, it's another man's tongue in your mouth, but I guess there's nothing wrong with it.
So that's basically the state of things. I think we've gone from the local, provincial level all the way up to the cosmic, philosophical level. The right is in pretty bad shape in Canada these days. It doesn't really have a political angle at the moment. So then the best thing it could do is probably just anti-lockdown stuff.
We got to talk about this Nanos poll. We got to.
What's the Nanos poll again?
So the Nanos poll showed that only 24% of Canadians oppose mandatory vaccinations and domestic passports for vaccination. 24%. Do you know what this means?
Okay. I guess the poll number itself doesn't matter because as we were talking about before recording, you can really change the results depending on how it's phrased, especially on things like that, as we learned with some of the earlier ones. But I get what you're saying. The main issue, if we want to boil it down, is that one way or another we can nitpick about the number, but it seems that a majority of Canadians
are
like totally down with
do you agree or strongly
mandatory
agree?
Vaccinations and or vaccine passport type systems,
24%,
which are basically the same thing. Because
do you know what that means?
What?
It's fucking open season. Those are some great numbers. 1 in 5. 1 in 5. I don't have to give a fuck about 1 in 5. I can get some real shit done with 76% of the population. I can get some real shit done. Like I'm talking your kids. I'm talking people under 12. It's not like we haven't gone against the manufacturer's statements before here in Canada.
Okay, but I see what you're saying, but the issue with that is the translation doesn't necessarily work like that, right? It's so
if
let's say I have a poll that says 90% of the population wants to help the environment.
Okay.
People aren't necessarily going to disagree with it, but there's certain practical realities that kick in that prevent it from going anywhere.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying some of this stuff is going nowhere, because depending on where you are, it's going somewhere. And I mean, I think a lot of us see where this is going if it's not sufficiently opposed.
It won't be.
I think people are overestimating how easy it's going to be to come in. For example, one of the things I'd like to point out is for example, so one of the only places right now that in the U.S. that wants to do it is New York City.
Yeah.
They announced that you need basically a pass to go to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Now this is incredibly
Racist.
Racist. Yeah, it has fairly astonishing racial implications that I think are very interesting because, again, the left is the one that loves the lockdowns the most. They love the mandatory or vaccine passport type idea the most. In New York, it's worse than the country in general. It's like under 30% for the country in general. But it's like 10 or 12% in New York City. So you want to cut off 90% of the black people in New York City, which is like, that's bigger than the whole population of Chicago almost.
Yeah.
You want to make it illegal for them to go to a restaurant? It's insane. And there's just layers to this that
It's not illegal.
it's going to bump up against reality in some way. Now, obviously, people can put up with a lot of total nonsense. Like we take off our shoes at the airport, which for all of history, we never had to do that. It's dumb. We shouldn't have to do it.
One guy.
It's a silly example, but it's just to illustrate.
It's a great
like
example.
We'll do ridiculous things, but this is almost too much. And maybe I'm too, maybe I've got the blinders on or something. It's just, I don't see how it can work the way people are envisioning it. Like, think about the terrorist watch list. What a disaster that thing is. Now imagine something way more complicated, way more impossible. Like these vaccine passports, there's all these different kinds of vaccines. They've already had Canadian travelers get cut off from their trips.
You mean like a
because
federal?
It's like, oh, I got a Moderna mixed with a AstraZeneca vaccine. What do you mean I can't come to your country?
It's an easy. No, you know what? Those are easy problems to fix, and it's a great win. It's a great win. I go out there. I save Canadians from the. I cut through the red tape. I save them.
No, but this is just the tiniest example that it's coming up on right away.
Yeah.
It basically dumps like wet cement into an engine.
But people don't.
It's just not going to work.
I'm telling you, people don't want to go fast. And on top of that, they got nowhere to be.
No, I think it's the opposite. I think, and as we're seeing in Alberta, because we are at the cutting edge, I think we're actually winning. The anti-lockdown side is basically winning, and the maniacs are making these desperate grabs of power late in the game because it's their last chance to do it, or they're just deranged and politically motivated to get it out there. But I think it's actually a sign of desperation rather than a sign of them winning.
I don't really look at it as a struggle of these 2 meters up and down. What it tells me is that there will be no repercussions for whatever I decide to do. That's what it tells me. It tells me my MPs are not in jeopardy. It means that my majority within the House of Commons is secure, no matter how far I want to take this. And it's only through my benevolence that I don't take your kids out of school, strap them down, and fucking.
They can't even pay their own employees.
You mean the NDP?
No, we're talking about the government that can't, like this is the Phoenix pay system.
Oh no,
government.
but this would be
none of this is gonna work.
We wouldn't outsource this to another company. We would do this ourselves with our own troops, our 75% obese Canadian military forces.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Australia, went out there and the troops really pitched in, patrolling the streets, making sure everybody had their
the whole Australia thing is truly astonishing. Like, I don't know if I never truly grasped what that country was about.
Yeah.
But I think there's a problem in the whole British Commonwealth that makes us kind of like zombie-like. Mm-hmm. But what is with Australia? How have they gotten themselves into this? And how do they get out of it? Because they have entered the twilight world.
They don't. They're gonna have to just fucking take their beats. They're gonna have to take their beats because there's not a fucking thing they can do about it.
So now that's pretty much the polar opposite from the philosophy that, I mean, maybe to bring it full circle in a sense, but that's pretty much polar opposite what they're doing versus the philosophy that Dina Hinshaw has brought to the table in Alberta. And obviously, Alberta is a much better place to be in the virus panic. But I mean, England was also insane. Canada was one of the worst places.
Yeah.
But Australia, sending in the army is just like, that is the point where you've totally descended into madness. Like, you've unleashed the monsters.
Yeah, there was a UK news article about the cops opened fire on a guy who broke quarantine. They were like, "Oh, he was driving towards us."
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. That's
sick. I mean,
it's like Iraq when somebody's driving to a check stop. They're like, "Shoot him! He might be a bomber."
Yeah. Why are you afraid of somebody driving their car? Do you think you're doing something wrong? Do you think people are upset?
Insane.
Yeah. Look, it's weird.
I don't know how they get out of it.
I watched those YouTube, like the Rebel videos of fucking what's his face down there. He seems like a fucking great lad. I'd go have a beer with that guy.
Yeah, he seems like a fun guy.
Yeah, he seems like a fella. He seems like just one of the boys, you know?
Yeah.
Right? And there's nothing sleazy or gross. He's got, clearly he grinds. Clearly he's got a hustle, but like, he seems affable, easy to get along with, and he's not.
Yeah, you'd have wings and beer with him, like you said.
Absolutely. And you'd invite him. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd go out of your way, be like, buddy, come on.
Give him a call.
Yeah, give him a call. Anyways. But anyways, so he
is there anywhere worse than that?
Fucking Duarte, Philippines.
Okay, does that count though? Like, are they held up to the same standards? Because in Asia, like, they're pretty nuts about stuff. Or are they? Like, I don't know.
Man. That guy's got some fucking sound bites on him.
So in the Western world, and by that, I guess I would include like Japan normally in the more westernized.
Are the Asian Philippines? I go by G20. That's kind of like who I figure out who I should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
It's a good proxy for like modern social democracy. That's basically,
well, it seems to correlate with economic output, and that's why you're in the G20.
Yeah.
So anyways, probably I don't think it is. No, it definitely isn't, actually, now that I think about it. But like,
because France, I think, had like some pretty major protests, and there was some beatings in the streets. But again, the Australia thing, that like they sent in the army.
There was they're running around downtown saying, "Show me your papers."
Yeah, well, that was the French thing, right?
Yeah, papers, please.
It's terrible. It's creepy. It's total dystopia.
So the last year that happened,
some libertarians are like, "This is awesome.
It's awesome." There was some guy on Twitter who's like, "Yeah, I'm a fucking hardcore capitalist," and he's just like, "You got to get these vaccines. You got to get them in."
Well, Calgary Chamber of Commerce just said they support vaccine passports.
Oh, nice.
They were the guys who also supported the mask bylaw and all this crap because they think it makes business like better for them. It's like, makes it worse. Anything you do to make it shittier to go to your shitty store is worse for business.
But if we make everything shitty,
no, that's the thing. That's the mistake.
24%.
People just don't go.
24%.
People just don't go.
Get fucked. 24%. I don't care. And you know what? If I'm having troubles,
no, the 24% literally for business is the difference between like surviving and not surviving.
Big Daddy,
you need the piece of that 24% that would otherwise come to your business. You need them, and that again ignores all the practical issues. Like, I don't see how these things can possibly persist. If I'm wrong, though, I'm open to the possibility. Because the world is crazy enough. Who knows?
Big Daddy Trudeau just bail me out, bro. Come on now.
I think we're good in Alberta, though. I think I'm I'm glad things are kind of
here's the
least terrible.
Here's the real
in
question.
The country.
Anybody who's not in Alberta, do you have any confidence that the courts will back you up if you have a problem with this? Do you think the courts will back you up? In 3 years, when somebody actually has the money and the wherewithal to go and challenge it by some fucking
No, I don't
miracle.
think they will.
No, they will not, because there's especially at the federal level,
It was an emergency.
But there's the Alberta
Bill of Rights.
Bill of Rights. Alberta has a Bill of Rights. And inside there, so the argument is that you cannot supersede these rights unless you have so in order to get the notwithstanding portion of it, you actually have to have a vote about it. You can't just be handed the power by declaring an emergency. They actually have to vote first to say these human rights that the state gave you don't apply right now because this is too important. So they have to do their work ahead of time. Now, whether that'll actually hold up, whether that is how we'll be proceed, or they'll simply say, look, it's too important, and regardless of whether the law looks that way or if they didn't follow whatever the fuck they were supposed to do, we all kind of knew what they were doing, and it's okay. So I'm just gonna ignore this because I'm a Canadian judge.
Do you think, is that what they did in Ontario with Ford? Because didn't they do some campaign finance law thing, and they're like, this is unconstitutional?
He used
the notwithstanding.
He used the notwithstanding clause to override a judge's agreement or argument or ruling. Judge's ruling that unions were allowed to contribute over a certain amount of money to political campaigns. So, because they fought it all the way, and they said, yeah, like, this is political speech, and you can't limit political speech.
So is that like what you're talking about? Did they have to do like a vote on that?
Well,
or I don't really know how.
No, I'm just saying that's how the Alberta human rights are like.
Oh,
that's how it works. You can't sort of like, it's not like the federal one where it's baked into the first fucking sentence.
So you don't hear. I've always kind of known it's out there. We don't hear about it ever, basically.
I only saw it because I looked at a fucking legal document challenging it. Just saying, like, look, you have to fucking have that vote. You didn't have that vote, so it doesn't fucking work. You can't overrule these things. It's a fundamental fucking, it's underneath everything, and you don't get to supersede it unless you have a vote to say that you can supersede it.
Yeah, so a procedural argument or technicality, and yeah, that it basically, you're throwing things up to give a judge an opportunity to tick off a box.
Yeah,
but they have to decide. It's like you can bring the horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah,
and they, it's too bad. But the judge, I don't know. I don't have too much faith in like their sense of honor, I guess. And I think they can rationalize pretty much anything they want.
Yeah, I think they can just say, well, it doesn't apply in this case, or that's a valid argument because I want it to be a valid argument. I know, but like, who's going to supersede them? You just take it up to the next court, who basically goes like, well, if our buddy said that, then it's got to be true. I don't think he look, man, I golf with that.
Yeah, and you're ultimately in the government's own courts.
I golf with that guy.
It's like suing Ottawa over its carbon tax.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Which I think is worth a shot, whatever.
Someone's got to do it.
I guess you got to get the ruling out there, but it just goes to show that they we know where their bread is buttered.
Yeah. So it all boils down to, if there's no shenanigans with how it's phrased or whatever else. But the thing is, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the sentiment mirrored in my peer group. Online's a distortion, but there's enough people that fucking think that way, that they don't. If you believe in total body autonomy, and maybe you've got some kind of oppositional defiance disorder, like a lot of fucking libertarians seem to have, you just don't, you're not comfortable taking it, and you don't But what drives you nuts is that someone would fucking pick up a stick and say, fuck it, take it or else. If that puts you off, you're in the minority and no one's coming to save you. No one. Not the courts, not the politicians, not your friends or family. Okay? You're in an extreme minority. So you either have to mobilize with that minority and try to protect what you can, or take your fucking beats. Just take your beats like Australia does, and that's it. You may think that Canada and Alberta is going to be fucking different.
I don't necessarily think Canada is going to be different, but I don't think it'll fly in Alberta.
You're not allowed
Maybe
to,
in a
you're not
couple
going to leave the
years,
province, and
maybe in a couple years,
it's like
if Notley comes in and she's like, all right, we're going in with vaccine passports. I don't think it's going to last that long.
It's like the Joe Rogan joke of the terrorist cell phone network. They're like, look, if the terrorist cell phone network had 5 bars everywhere all the time, for sure you'd fucking use it. And you'd be like, well, I need it for work. It's not that, because people don't, it's not worth the fucking fight. It's not worth losing your house over. Do you know what I mean? That's why it's 24%.
I think that side might be underestimated, and I think we're going to win. I think the only reason the question's being asked is because the lockdown fanatics are freaking out because they're losing.
Maybe, however, I think it's more like they're trying to figure out how many inches they got left they can push you.
Oh yeah, well yeah, they're still pushing it, but they've already hit, in most places they've already hit the limit on that.
I don't know, man.
There's some true anomalies where
vaccine,
like the Australia thing, I guess maybe
still getting
just
lockdowns.
Don't understand Australia, but I think
they're different people.
Yeah, I guess so, but I don't know.
They sold all their guns.
I mean, like I said before, I could be totally wrong. I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Maybe I'm being extremely pessimistic, and this past couple months have just beat the shit out of me. Look, you're gonna have to know a guy. I'm just saying right now, put out and start talking to people and see if they know guys. Okay? Guys that can give you one thing or another. If you're really dead set against it, you're going to end up breaking the law, so you might as well break the law now.
Yeah, I mean, we should always be trying to build our little cells and
do it with
little
cash.
Freedom networks or whatever you want to call them. And if for whatever reason people are holding off on that, they should really, put an effort in and try to expand their network. And it's hard. The world is more kind of isolated and atomized despite our connection technology in a lot of ways. But people do really need to address that. And again, it's definitely possible that this gets way, way, way worse down the line.
Well, technology fixes a lot of problems.
To anticipate, build some contingency plans and form some good relationships and be a productive person.
There was a kind of thing I stumbled upon, which is to say that the true measure of a man's worth is the men he knows. Having a that's my barber, that's my accountant, that's my lawyer. You got to get your guy for this thing too. You can go online, you can get literally any prescription you want with a fucking 5-minute video chat. So this problem sorts itself out. The question is, do you want to lose? How do you want to take this to the mats?
Well,
I don't think they want to.
Most people probably don't. But again, we all draw the line somewhere. Like a lot of people drew the line at the mask thing.
Big L libertarians, not my problem. Not my problem.
I mean, this stuff is pushing people in different ways. Like obviously, you go back to the American Revolution, they get like a 1% stamp tax. It's like the guns are coming out.
Your tea's gonna look.
People draw the line in different places, based on different times, based on different circumstances. Yeah. Now, I mean, we put up with a lot in modern society because we're so wealthy and decadent, and mostly
high trust.
Our situation is taken care of. But a lot of this stuff pushes people in ways they haven't been pushed before, and I don't know. It's interesting to watch it play out, but. So, for example, a lot of people drew the line at the mask. Not enough people, but a lot of people did. Some people are drawing the lines at, like, you know, the mandatory vaccination or the coercive vaccination program, which is basically what the vaccine passport is all about.
Yeah.
Like, you're legally barred from places because
of your vaccination
you
status.
didn't put something in your body.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like, you know, strange new world, uncharted waters, I think. And unfortunately, I can kind of go either way, but I think we're kind of doing pretty good, especially in Alberta. It should have been way better.
Yeah.
But
all things considered,
we're going to be like the new Jerusalem. We're going to be like the city on the hill.
Oh, they're already calling us Canada's Florida. So
they said like, oh, we're going to need to cut off travel to Alberta. Like if Alberta was a country, I wouldn't let people come here.
Yeah.
And you know, it was funny when actually Kenney, like I give him about a 2 out of 5, maybe a 3 out of 5 on this. But you know, we were talking about how they said, the federal health minister's like, show me the evidence.
Show me your work.
Show me. You must justify this to me.
Yeah.
And so the media asked him about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was kind of okay. But he said, like,
I was waiting. Yeah.
Her government, like, just let people pour into the country.
Oh, my God.
And you know, that's kind of like taking a line from the States, DeSantis thing, because there was a Governor DeSantis from Florida little 4-minute thing that went around for a while, and everyone's like, yeah, that's awesome, because he's standing up for kind of Florida, because Alberta's kind of like the Florida of Canada now.
Yeah.
But DeSantis was basically defending himself against Biden, and he said Biden's like letting people flood in across the border carrying the disease. So whether or not that's true doesn't really matter, but it's an interesting like point to throw back, and it plays well with certain people. Yeah. So Kenney kind of threw that back as well, and I always wondered about that. Like, okay, I've never thought the justification or the response fit the nature of the threat.
No.
But if I was to put myself in the situation of, like, you know, the anti-pandemic bureaucrat, wouldn't one of the things I would do is like stop planes from China or India? Like, they just were pouring in from places.
I would follow WHO guidelines.
And I mean,
I wouldn't make any decisions based on reason or concepts. I would just literally let someone else do the work and then just appeal to authority.
But so if you don't do that and you're like, well, your policies don't seem good, it's a nice little zinger that you can throw back. Be like,
it is.
You're judging me. Look what you guys did.
Yeah.
But of course then he goes like, oh, and they gave like ambiguous instructions about masks.
Fuck off.
But so pretty weak.
There's so many things you could have done, dude.
Yeah, but for Kenney, it was it was not a 1 out of 5 like usual.
Yeah.
It was maybe a 2 out of 5. So if he kind of turns up that heat, that would probably play kind of okay, even though it opens him up to the media and Rachel not saying bad things. But he's got nothing.
Trudeau spent the
unpopular.
past month, and so just before Stampede, Trudeau rolled through town talking about he's going to give a bunch of money for trains to a metropolitan core that has what 60-70% or like sorry
30% vacancy. I think it's like
yeah.
just under or just hit or something.
Yeah, so 30% vacancy rate on a in a city of a 1.1 1.2 million. So we're let's assume they're all employed downtown. 30% don't go anywhere near there. So they're like, yeah, let's build some more trains. That'll get them down into the city center.
It fights climate change.
Yeah, so
I'll make a better world
he
for
rolls
our
through,
children.
Yeah, he rolls through town.
Canadians deserve clean air.
He it's so he rolls through. Normally he puts on a little outfit. There was no outfit this time. No cowboy outfit. No lunch over at Princess Island Park. Didn't hang out for the stampede. Doesn't want to be caught dead in outside among people. He went and the next stop was in somewhere in BC where he also announced more train funding. I don't know. But while he was here, he just dunked on Kenney the whole time. He was like running because it's a campaign.
Plays well out east.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, this is the fucker that is bitching about equalization. You wrote the fucking formula, bitch. Huh? What do you got to say about that? Nothing. You're worse than O'Toole. In fact, you guys are buddies. You know what? I should let my homies know that yeah, they're exactly the same. Anybody who's in a union, these guys are the same shit. He just dunked on him and he made him look like a bitch. And so when someone in his crew decides to come at your ruling, and specifically the gal that has been taking it on the fucking chin for you since this decision was made, this is what you come back with. This is your fucking retort. I got to give him a 1, dude. This was a general.
No, but a 1 is nothing.
Dude, he was walking. It's like that meme of the fucking the Pepe with the fucking plate full of chicken nuggets. Like he just fell. He just ate shit and he's laying on the ground fucking crying. Trudeau's standing over him.
Well, I think he is incredibly weak on the Ottawa thing. He just doesn't come across as effective on it, and he doesn't like. So like I said, I give it like a 2 just because there was anything there. There was some other stuff that was, it was relatively not terrible. So that just brings it up above a 1 for me. But I basically get your point. He's incredibly weak on that whole issue. Yeah, Trudeau dunked on him. He had like, I mean, again, a relatively not horrible response on the like, well, you wrote the equalization thing, but not good. Like it should be way better. But I think at his core, he's still kind of like the federalist guy, and he doesn't have an or else. Like basically, oh yeah, he doesn't have anything.
He gets along to go along. I get it. But remember when people were fucking talking shit about Hinshaw, that the lockdown, like anti-lockdown protests were just like, man, fuck this bitch. And he was like, man, I can't believe you'd say that about
I can't
her.
believe you'd
She's
say
a
horrible
saint.
things about
You
Hinshaw.
people are racist. You're horrible. You have no place in Alberta. And just a smidge of that disgust and contempt and righteousness I would like for you to bring against a federal apparatus.
But honestly, I don't think, I mean, I might be remembering wrong, or maybe we saw some different stuff, but I think I remember exactly the thing you're talking about. I don't think he came across all that much better. Like very, very pedantic and scolding.
Yeah.
But not like not coming from a position of strength, like more of like a please stop being mean.
It was
It's disgusting. Please stop that.
It was pretty.
It was like a Nenshi kind of response.
It was pretty indignant.
Remember
no,
when
Nenshi fucking opened fire.
As if, did you remember when Nenshi was complaining about death threats over like some bus ride? And he had his anti-bullying t-shirt on?
Oh, Billy the anti-bully? No,
no, of course, Nenshi loves dunking on the prevent. He loves dunking on Kenney.
Man, Nenshi.
And that's another thing.
I'd rather have Nenshi
Kenney
go there and
should
talk
be
shit.
just dunking on Nenshi. And like he throws the weakest stuff out there. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe the softy stuff is better, but it doesn't seem like it.
They're all people's representatives.
Some nukes.
Yeah, dude. People are ready for it. They're ready for it.
But so Prime Minister Blackface decided to show up in the province and throw some money around on dead-end infrastructure projects, which I guess he can't really say because they're throwing money in too. But
look, it's the city's decision. We're provincial. Those are the rules. We're bound to do it. We've been trying to slow it.
Yeah, whatever.
Machiavelli has been trying to kill this thing for years. It won't die. It looks like it's going to happen. Sorry, Calgarians. Dunk it. I know you can't buy a bike in this city, so clearly we need more trains. So thanks Mr. Blackface. See you later.
Yeah, so I mean, but maybe we're just biased. Maybe
we don't get it.
Maybe we don't understand proper political tactics, but that's what would work for me and a lot of people in my scene, which has a lot of its like branches connected to the Alberta right.
Here's what I would like. I would like no one's ever going to listen to this, but if they do, and they know a guy who knows a guy, anybody that's actually been in proximity, in the fucking room, while power is being exerted, I just have some questions for you. You maintain your anonymity. You do have to prove you are who you are. But I would like to know what happens here. I remember there was like a story about like somebody was just like talking shit about being in the, he was like, yeah, I'm like a staffer. And they're like, are these people idiots or like what? And they're like, no, they're idealistic, like high schoolers. Like they have no fucking clue. They just think that the world's magical. Isn't it just
like that Yes Minister British sitcom?
I guess it must be.
I'm pretty sure that's how it is.
Yeah.
Just without the laughter.
Because nothing's funny.
I think they should all have to wear body cams.
Oh. That's a great idea.
Like every meeting has to be body cams, and all the teachers should have to wear body cams.
We can't even get our own. We can't even get our city council to have meetings in public.
No, it's disgraceful.
They have a secret room where they go and fucking bitch at each other and can't sit next to one another. And apparently, over half the meetings, the billable.
That's why it's called the Big Purple Playpen.
the half the billable meetings or meeting time, I think last year was spent in that fucking timeout room where they all sat around and fucking pretended they were, executing the city's business. Meanwhile, they can't even define what like they spent, I think, $5 million on revamping the city's building guideline. And they're like, so is this the guideline? They're like, no, they're like, is this the new rule? Do I have to fucking do it this way? And they're like, no, it's a guideline. I'm like, well, is it the fucking rule or not? And they're like, well, the guideline informs the rules. They're like, well, is it the rules or is it a guideline? Like, do I have to fucking care? And why'd you spend $5 million?
Joke.
And you can't get an answer out of these guys. And Nancy comes out, acts all indignant about it. He goes like, look, we said from the beginning it's a guideline. I'm like, why the fuck did you waste everybody's time?
I can't stand Nancy.
The rules are still based on the guideline? Dude, it's impossible to get any work done there. I got a buddy who works at the city. He's just like, look, dude, we're fucked. Everybody's getting cut. Everybody's going. But everybody except for our diversity department, because they just started like last year or the year before, and it's very important to have that department. It won't suffer any cuts whatsoever. So if you got some potholes, get fucked. Because the city's got a real racism problem. And
It's probably the least racist city in the entire country.
Well, I think when it comes to hiring practices, economic mobility, etc., yes. However, and the fact that there's still a good amount of segregation in this city but like that's natural. People keep to themselves. Like it just happens. But like there is some true, deep, refreshing racism in this city. And I almost prefer it because at least it's honest. Like if you want to, if you want to get drunk and say, I fucking hate white people and hit them over the head, I don't think that's a hate crime. And the courts agree with me. Okay. I still want to hammer home this whether you agree with I still think the Fed's got carte blanche and there's not a fucking thing that's going to stop them. I don't know. So the real question is what can be done?
It's a long battle, man. It's
Go
like the Titanic. Like maybe you can just hit the iceberg a little less hard.
Do you think it's fucking lame to say just go vote?
I don't know. What do you mean? Like the way people say, like, doesn't matter who you vote for as long as you vote.
No, that like
as a defensive act of some kind.
Yeah, it's kind of like, look, like I said, that the government, like they're not. The courts aren't going to help you. Orgs aren't going to help you. No one's going to help you if you think
whatever's
this way.
necessary. Like I said at the very beginning, team up with Dina Hinshaw if you have to. Team up with Jason Kenney if you have to. Team up with Rachel Notley if one day she becomes an anti-lockdown. Team up with Justin Trudeau if he's like, time to open up no matter what.
No.
Just the only thing that matters right now is anti-lockdown. So what you're saying, just go vote. Whatever angle you need to take as a defensive action against lockdown. And there's whatever short-term thing that maybe doesn't matter that much, all the way up to the grand, the society transforming campaign that has to happen over 100 years so that the philosophy that made lockdowns possible in the first place is utterly eradicated from people's hearts. And that takes hundreds or thousands of years.
I don't think voting gets that done.
No, that's one of the weak short-term measures. But again, the point is, don't turn away anything that might help you against lockdowns. Even though voting in our Canadian context doesn't seem to matter very much, because I don't think Erin O'Toole has much to say about lockdowns.
He loves them.
I don't think.
Yeah, he does. He loves them.
Yeah, he loves them.
We need more, faster, better, stronger lockdowns.
Yeah, we need to declare war on the virus. Or what did he say? We need to put Canada on a war footing.
War footing.
That was his big...
I'm the guy to do it.
And that was their promotional campaign.
I didn't just play a soldier on TV. I was one. On TV.
In the Canadian Army.
In the Canadian
Armed Forces.
Yeah, and they're like, remember all that good shit the CAF was known for? Just like, oh, like all that shit you guys got done down in fucking Somalia? And they're like, we don't talk about Somalia.
So voting is mostly useless, but at the city level, it counts big time, because basically we have a real divide on the city council, and it can make a difference. Again, all that matters is the best anti-lockdown option that's available.
If you run for city council, you can go party at the Liberal Party. I wasn't aware that they all showed up to that. So you can either run for wards, or you can run for mayor and then go to a sweet party held by the Liberal Party.
Because they talked about, then she's like, he said, oh my God, they're taking away the quarantine requirement. Do I need to freak out? And the city expert they talked to is like, no, you don't need to freak out. But anyway, he's like, we need to have an emergency meeting in August to bring back the mask mandate.
He said it's pure insanity.
Do you think, I think that might have fizzled out completely. I think that was a dud. Like, I don't think people want that shit anymore.
They'll do what they're told, man. The best they can do is just say inside city buildings, you must do this.
Well, yeah, a lot of people will do what they're told, but a lot of people
I had to go down to City
are
Hall.
sick.
I had to go down to City Hall to fucking do some paperwork. And it was like airport tier. Like, it was fucked up. Like there's two guards at the like the front of it, and you get the fucking questionnaire and the quiz, and then no one's in the lobby. Like, it's actually kind of good because they used to just let homeless people hang out in the fucking lobby of City Hall. Like, they didn't give a shit. So like when they were done taking a dump over at the library, they would walk across the train tracks and go hang out either in front of or inside City Hall. Yeah, like they'd have headphones on and pull out a book, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm waiting for somebody." And now, like, no, none of that. It's just like you are addressed, you are quizzed, you are shown your line and direction. And I'm pretty sure if I had deviated from where I was going, some guy would have been like, "Hey, where are you going?" So it's been great. It's been awesome. uh so but he decided, he says that's insane. And he will, like, he's just gonna fucking, like, he has to do it. It's part of his legacy. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like how the Peace Bridgers brung Kanye's "fuck you" to Calgary before he left, this is gonna be Nenchi's.
I don't know. Yeah, I think Nenchi's gonna have a lot
He's
of
gotta
like
do it.
screw yous on his way out, and this is one of them. But I don't think it went over as awesome as he hoped. Like, there is a lot of kooks who love the lockdowns, and there's a lot of government employees and a lot of a certain kind of people who love that stuff, and they eat up if Nenchi says this is all crazy or whatever. But I think, again, I guess it comes down to different kind of interpretations. Like, we're kind of coming at it different lenses, and other people I talk to, it's kind of like this too. But I'm seeing some of these like actions as acts of desperation, like out of a seething position of losing like control. And other people are seeing it like more the way you are, I guess. Like, yeah, people will accept anything, and these guys are winning, or these guys are getting their way, and they can take it if they want it. And
I would kind of agree with that. However, I think what is happening in Australia is the seething out of control, like, or is the last grasp. Like, when people like see that shit slipping out of their hand, they fucking hold on tight. They don't sort of let go a little bit at a time in a reasonable manner. They do what Australia does.
yeah, and I think, I mean, depending on the situation, it's gonna manifest in kind of a different way. Like the seething, desperate last grasp as it slips through your fingers. It's going to look different for different people in different countries and different kind of political situations. But the Australians,
do you see that
I
video?
think they love this stuff.
Oh, they fucking love it.
I mean, they had some big protests and things, but it seems like they must love it in a certain sense to have gotten into this situation at all. Again, Alberta has some of the strongest opposition in the country to the whole lockdown philosophy. And it's still not nearly as good as it should be. It's only like half at best.
There was a bunch of protests. There was a bunch of people out.
And some brawling with the cops.
Yeah, they pushed it back or whatever. But it's like, yeah, so did the Quebecois, and they still had their fucking lockdowns. Like, what are you going to do? No one has questioned me beyond simply saying that I'm cynical. I've never drawn ridicule. They're like, what's next? Is the government gonna demand your child be vaccinated? And it's like, yeah, they already do that, bro. I'm like, what's next? Is the government gonna demand your papers? And it's like, yeah, the provinces did that. They're doing it right now. Like,
well, if I could say so, I've been easily like one of the most extreme people I know, and most of the people around me have moved closer to my position than otherwise. So like, that's kind of good that you're not coming across as a crazy person in general, the way some people definitely do.
Maybe I'm not as clear on my kind of peer group, and I'm a little more I don't know. Like maybe I just hang out with more people that are kind of bitch made, but like
Well, okay, so what do you think of this? If, um, I think a big mistake in a way that we've made is like, almost this implicit, um, concession to the lockdown crowd that we get so caught up in the science and the numbers, and it's like, oh well, it's not that bad, which is kind of like, where do you draw the line? It's kind of a subjective issue. Do you think that's a good way to go with the normie, the normal person,
the
like,
numbers. No,
and the science and stuff? Because I think the science against the lockdowns, and in terms of, the overhyped severity of the illness when you compare it to other things, has, is clearly, in the anti-lockdown favor. But personally, I think that's almost a concession that, oh yeah, if it was bad enough, then lockdowns are okay, and then, oh well, I just think it's bad enough already. Whereas I think the better angle is using, I don't know, moral arguments, to be honest, what and like the value of living as opposed to, being miserable all the time. But what do you think is the best, method, maybe, to
they're kids.
propagandize other people?
They're
Or
kids.
what do you mean?
I always just go after the kids. Just say what's
What
going to happen to their kids if they're sort of even. Like I said, just
does
like
that work for people?
just like the conservatives are going to have that fucking twinge, where it's just like, look, the state wants to fucking vax your kids. It's like that's the only thing that's going to get them up off the ass. But the other people, you take it from the perspective of this is the world that you're preparing for your children and your children's children.
Do
That
they
will
care?
I
They put their children in the public schools.
they're like, oh, I've had 6 abortions. I don't fucking care. No, I think if you go look, you owe it. If you can't appeal to their nurturing concept, you can always appeal to their ego and say, just like I made the argument for the, um, like the residential school thing, which is to say that, like, look, your grandparents, your parents, they didn't give a fuck. They sat by, they watched it, and they were like, shit, go take their kids. I don't give a fuck. I'm okay with that. And so I would always just, I hate to liken it because they're like, oh, this is cultural genocide. I don't want to say, unfortunately, because they're normies, you have to get hyperbolic. You have to just be like, look, this is more drastic than you realize. And if I have to compare it to a fucking genocide, fortunately, there's no, like, I can't make you see straight. So I don't think, I don't want to call you,
Well, it is a mass hysteria. It is a cult.
yeah, like
There's hardcore cultists. In theory, though, there should be some people who can be swayed. What do you think is the
my
best way?
my argument is that you not saying that you have the responsibility, but you are literally the vanguard. You're the person sitting by while people round up people's children.
What? So you're saying that's the way to appeal to somebody?
Yeah, by saying it's like, look, you need to oppose things that you know are wrong.
So it is basically the moral argument.
I don't think they view those things as moral things because there's a greater morality, which is public health. And anything that nothing can supersede that. It is ultimate morality. Oh, those poor old people. And you'd be like, well, what about them kids? They'd be like, man, fuck them kids. Let them go to school with masks on and have to, have shots every fucking quarter.
Okay, I would say most people who say that, like, who really disparage the kids, or like are really, um failing to recognize the impact on children, I'd say that's part of the virus cult. So I don't think you can appeal to those people with any argument whatsoever, because it's more of an expression of their ideology, and they would literally be killing what, like, their themselves, in a sense, to, change their position. But say more the normie that you can be swayed. Is there an angle that works on that kind of person? Like, do you know someone who's really changed their opinion over the course of, say, the
A
last
teacher.
Tell me about this.
He got super, like, he was just like, oh my god, fuck, crazy. He got super pissed because He was just like, this is fucking bullshit. I'm trying to fucking teach. I hate teaching over fucking remote. Like, and he teaches elementary school kids, like kids that,
Good luck.
yeah, good, like
you might as well just turn the computers off.
yeah, like just, fucking Cartman it up, or you just put a still image of yourself and you're like, oh no, I'm breaking up. Oh no. And he's pissed because anytime school would start back up, and anybody within 100 feet of anybody that was in 100 feet of anybody else, he had to fucking go and get tested, and then they'd all have to fucking quarantine, whether they were clear or not.
Okay, so he thinks it's annoying. Did
He was
his
like,
position change
he
in
said,
terms
this
of...
this is hysteria, and it's overkill. These kids aren't getting sick. I'm not sick. Let it go.
So is he the example though of a person who early on he's like, yeah, this is what we got to do. This is a great idea for now.
Yeah.
Until we get through this.
Not for now.
Or
they don't add for now to anything.
But now you're saying he's like, this is not worth it or whatever.
Yeah. He's like, this is
basically because it made his life annoying.
Well, he also saw that
Which
it was
good enough for me.
Yeah. He said, this is not helping anyone. Your prescriptive program is not beneficial.
Good enough for me.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a teacher.
Yeah. So I know, but that was the last person that I would think would kind of been that way. Everybody else is just like, they're either like hardcore. They're not people that have their kids in public school. Okay. Or they're fucking, they don't have kids and they're
spinsters who work for the government.
Or, I got a buddy who, my other buddies are like, late 30s, early 40s guys who have or don't have kids and like are just kind of like, well, this is the reality of the world and fuck you if you're not, not my problem. Get your shot. Not my problem. Can I reach those people? Probably not. I don't know how to answer those. I don't know how to reproach those normies. I think they're almost beyond saving. That's why I think the kid angle is the best. Because if you look at what the NDP do, if you have your little lockdown, guess what's happening guess what's being talked about at that lockdown rally? Oh my God, the children! They can't get the vax. They're under 12. She's like, sure they can. Fuck it. Just do it.
Children have died.
Yeah. Name one in Alberta.
Zero.
Name one.
0.
I'll wait. But do you think
answer is 0.
So no, that's the only answer.
Actually, you should try that. Let's try that little experiment. Let's ask some random people. Like how many people do you think under 20 have died of the virus?
Yeah.
Just
they're gonna say
test people's awareness.
They're gonna say 1 or 2.
You think so, or you think they'll be like, a couple hundred?
No,
they're gonna be 2 or 3.
They're gonna say 1 or 2. They're gonna think of that really fat girl from Toronto, and the other really fat one in BC, and maybe the super fat one in Idaho, and the super fat one in somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know.
Every day kid gets a goddamn memorial page, and
like
GoFundMe.
That chat room you were showing me.
Yeah.
With the virus or the vaccine fanatics.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I can't reach
how
those
do you
people.
reach those
I
people?
can't.
What about so we've got the cultists.
Yeah.
You can't change them. Then you've got more the middle ground, I guess, which is in theory susceptible to being persuaded by an anti-lockdown argument based on morality or economics or public health or whatever.
I think they're more motivated by comfort than anything. The middle grounders. So that's why Quebec vaccine appointments doubled overnight from 5,000 to 11,000 because comfort's more important. So those people are lost too.
Yeah, well, freedom for safety. So safety, comfort is a form of like feeling safe, like because what would make you feel less safe than being like not allowed to go places?
What would make me feel less safe than not being?
Well, obviously things would make you feel less safe, but I mean, in the context
actually,
of the
that's
virus,
never been phrased
most
that
people
way.
aren't
Actually,
like a lot of people who a lot of people are genuinely think like the virus is some mortal threat to them, which for most people it really isn't. But they might think like, oh well, the virus, like I don't want to get that. I better get the vaccine
and get the
and then I can go to the store.
and I need those other people that are at the store to also have the vaccine.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with the vaccine passport thing. Like the argument doesn't really make sense, and we saw it in that little, what was it, that chat room or whatever that thing you showed me was, where basically people are so it's like, oh well, you need people need to be vaccinated so they don't spread it. And then we learned from the CDC the other day, oh well, it actually doesn't matter. It seems that there's evidence that you spread it just as much either way. And if the vaccine works, it's not because of the effect on spreading, but rather the effect on the severity of your symptoms, basically. Which
I think it's hard.
That's basically what they were telling us all along. Like, these vaccines are coming. By the way, they're not going to stop you from spreading. And then that raised a lot of the questions at the time, like, oh, well, what's the point? Or like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But anyway, now
they're like, it's a treatment.
The
it's
argument to have the stupid so-called passport, it's like a euphemism. We need to come up with a more appropriate term for it. But the argument for it is you can't have these unvaccinated people running around the mall or the bar spreading the disease. And okay, well, that argument's gone. And then we saw how they ratchet over to the next counter to that, which is like basically an invalid argument, because the main thing goes away once you lose the transmission argument. At least in terms of, normie arguments.
It just moves. It moves on to healthcare system taxing.
Which itself proves too much, because what? So a choice that's more harmful to you, you should get cut off, or a choice that's potentially more harmful to you should cut you off from a system that you pay taxes for, when the entire basis of the stupid public healthcare system in the first place is to pool everyone together regardless of their risk classification.
Everyone is
and you can't discriminate at all on the basis of
all other people are victims of circumstances. You're simply choosing not to get this shot.
No, what about crackheads, 500-pounders?
The correlation between poverty. Next.
Yeah, I don't know.
Victims of circumstances, not you though.
But that's where they have to start reaching. They have to start clutching at these much weaker arguments that depend on the capacity of the healthcare system, which to me was always a stupid argument, because the healthcare system's always been terrible. It's always overloaded. By definition, it's public healthcare. That's how they ration it. It's wait times. That's how it works. I need to know that I'm going to get a hospital bed if I get sick. It's like, you don't know that anyway. In 2018 flu season, you didn't know that. My father-in-law went there. He didn't get that. He was on a stretcher in the hallway for like 18 hours. Like, that's how it works.
Yeah.
There's nothing unique about this virus. In fact, the hospital pretty much empties out when it fills up with sick virus patients.
Gives us more time to make TikTok videos.
Yeah, exactly. So that whole argument was always stupid to me. Like, no, I pay money for access to this stupid system. You don't get to cut me off because I made a decision that you think is dumb, that makes me subject potentially to be more likely to use the healthcare system's resources.
They will see that as an attack and simply say any discomfort you may face between then and like now and then is justified because you're a bad person.
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing. If people have to reach to absurd things, they're not really interested in pursuing anything you might offer or coming to some understanding or anything. They will, it's done. It's over. When you basically, it's sort of like when somebody's like, they're like, oh, well, the Nazis fucking blah, blah, blah. You're like, okay, we're done here. We're done here.
I think it's a bluff. And you know what? I think it's exactly like the whole social justice thing. The arguments are so bad sometimes on the whole social justice thing, which we've talked about as kind of has a kind of a repeated pattern of like the climate change cult and the virus cult, like these woke religions, if you will, or whatever. It's similar. Like, even though I think the position of power on each side doesn't map exactly, I think a lot of times they put forth ideas that they know are BS. And then the same way the virus cult puts forth ideas that it knows are BS. Like, it's power. It's not about truth for them. It's unquestioning dogma. And it's hard to fight a cult.
Yeah.
You can't fight them with arguments. How do you fight the cult?
Again,
or is it hopeless? Don't even waste your time. Just go for the normies. And then we're back to like, how do you influence the normie?
How do you influence the normies? Go after the kids. That's it.
Okay, well, interesting theory.
I think that's
I
good.
don't know the answer.
But I'm just reminding people that if you're having conversations one-on-one and they jump to something absurd, it's fucking done. It's done. That person's gone. Just be cool to them. Don't be a dick. But like,
smile and nod.
Yeah. Meanwhile, behind your back, man,
I can't let it go. But
some
of them are.
They probably consider you a liability. They think that you're what's wrong with things.
Yeah, I saw them. I saw the whole anti-vax crowd jump the shark today with a pretty funny headline. So apparently there's a new movie that came out. It's like a DC comic movie for the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But it's like a new movie or something. Anyway, it came out in theaters, and apparently it didn't do very well. And apparently, it's like one of these big comic book movies. So it's like pretty expensive, and it has, they want to get some butts in the seats.
Yeah.
So apparently it didn't do so well. And I saw this pretty funny headline that's like, it was blaming people who didn't get vaccinated for the failure of the movie because people are too afraid of them to go see it, which I think is interesting because
it's not a year's worth of fucking propaganda.
I think that's one of the funniest headlines of the virus maniacs that I've seen so far. And I think it might even be the opposite. I think the people who don't get vaccinated are probably the least likely to be worried to go out.
Yeah.
Almost like by definition.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really hear about people who are so scared of going outside, but they don't want to get the vaccine either, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's probably the opposite. The people who were probably most likely out of anyone to go to the movie
would be unvaccinated.
Would have been the unvaccinated people. And people who otherwise feel safe because they, if necessary, they strap a cloth on their face, or they go to, or they go in because they're vaccinated and they're not worried about it or whatever. It just seems like such a silly argument. And anyway, we went, the wife and I went to a movie last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was like a Wednesday night, and the whole place was packed. And unlike some of the places like where the office is and some of the other places we go, very low masking rates, maybe 5%, maybe 10% max, but I think it was more like 1 in 20, so 5%. It was packed. People were cool. People were having a good time. And so what was this other movie's problem? Is it really because people are too afraid, or is it maybe the movie was dumb? So they're gonna start the way they blame. They say they blame everything on climate change. Like, this guy kicked his dog because of climate change, or we got terrorism because of climate change, or people are starving because of climate change, or people are more racist because of climate change. We're gonna have the same thing start happening. Yeah, it's gonna be the new original sin. The new original sin.
It can't hold. The only thing that has true staying power is the true enemy to happiness and liberty, and
the whitey
incels. They're
gonna start making that connection. They're gonna be like,
incels don't get vaccinated.
Incels don't get vaccinated.
Oh, sick! That's so good. That's so good.
Racists don't get vaccinated.
Yes.
What's another bad kind of person? Landlords don't get vaccinated.
I thought you were gonna say black people.
Well, that's the problem with the leftist virus maniacs have to deal with. Why do they want to cut off black people from society so much? That seems rather
Well,
disgraceful.
I think if there's any particular, I
Like
remember
vaccine
I watched this-
passports, like the whole fucking lockdown shit. It's the privilege of the upper class.
I watched this video where it was I don't know, it was a brother just being like, "Oh, you know, Tuskegee happened, get over it." And, like he's trying to make these arguments like, "Oh no, it's totally safe, it's totally cool." Like, "Oh, you want to bring up Tuskegee? Like, oh, that was only like for fucking X years." It's like, dude, it was for fucking like 60 years. They had a cure for it. They didn't give it to them. They were like, "Let's see what happens."
That was the point. My understanding is they didn't give it to people, but for the people who had it, they didn't treat them.
Yeah.
Which was the experiment.
Yes.
Like, let's see what happens
Well,
if we
I
don't
wonder-
treat it.
Yeah. Do you know
'Cause it
that
was
peop-
very treatable.
Yeah, you want to see some syphilitic madness up close? And they're like, "Dude, I've only read about it. Let's see what happens."
Yeah. So I
This
mean,
happened to
whatever.
all my
I don't even
favorite
care why
authors.
people don't want to take it. If they think there's magnets in it or 5G magnets, I don't even care why people don't want to take it. But
I think you should.
it's interesting. But yeah, that's the other analog it's going to have with the climate change, the social justice cult. This is going to be the new mortal sin, the new sin that cries out to heaven for vengeance, the new unforgivable sin.
The new them.
It's going to be, you didn't get your 7th booster shot this year? People who didn't get their 8th booster shot caused the new DC comic movie to fail, and they're racist.
They don't fuck. They can't. No one wants to fuck them, and they don't want to fuck anybody else. They're all nose cells and lip cells and incels. And
People who don't get vaccinated hate women.
what are you, a vol cell? What's going on? He's like, "No, I'm a Sigma male. Get fucked."
So I think that's very interesting, and I think that's where it's going. So,
Yeah. So incels
were
don't
you
get
amused
vaxxed.
by that headline?
I just
The movie
it's
failed.
just a
because
really
of
it's just another really obnoxious headline, but I do see.
clickbait,
Yeah,
rage bait.
I think it's just going to be another.
A lot of talking head YouTube videos gonna like get. Some
Hey, Ben
mileage out of that
Shapiro,
one.
take the bait on this one. Send them to
So
me.
Dumb.
And it's like, yeah, no,
Well,
like,
it's so dumb. Even Ben Shapiro can hit that one out of
yeah,
the park.
he's just gonna smoke it, and like fucking Crowder shows up
Man, Ben Shapiro just destroys college kids
with facts and logic.
with facts and logic.
Fuck. Do you what's more sad of adult professional pundits of the two of them? Who's more pathetic, Ben Shapiro or D'Souza? Just being like, oh, I heard you're taking fucking humanities. By the way, you're
I
fucking
think
wrong.
they're both really lame. I don't know. I can't judge them. They're in the bottom category. Like, it doesn't have to be like a cardinal measure at that point.
Yeah, I think
Like,
if
they're both really bad. Honestly, in a lot of ways, I would say I probably dislike Shapiro more because he functions more as the supposedly like respectable conservative who gatekeeps for real right-wing ideas. Like, he's basically a neocon, which in
Yeah.
reality means he's a left-wing social democrat.
What about Charlie Kirk's tiny face?
No, I don't like that.
He looks like a Photoshop of himself, except like they selected his face and shrunk it by 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think Canada has this. We don't have a conservative ink. The closest,
No. So it's a broader thing. You got to think about how, how we talked about how like Sloan got kicked out.
Yeah, I get what you're
That's
saying.
because he's not the acceptable kind of Ben Shapiro conservative.
Yeah,
Or the acceptable kind of Erin O'Toole conservative. That's the kind of conservative that wins elections.
he's electable. He's electable.
We picked Erin O'Toole because of his electability,
He's electable.
just like Jeb.
Where is Andrew Scheer right now? Do you know?
He's just lays low. I think he's still member of parliament, and he does nothing. Like, I think he's useless.
You think he wears Hawaiian shirts all day?
No,
I think he's glad to be out of those ties.
he's horrible.
Anyways, we'll call her a night, but I think everybody go watch that Never Forget video. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's finally getting up. Anyways, I think that's it. Enjoy.